Hello and welcome. I was hoping many people will join. There was a couple of registration, but I'm sure something happened, something in their life. So no worries at all. I will still go ahead and do this session and record and share with everyone. So my name is Vinod Sharma. This is a free mentoring session for web developers. So I have been in web development industry for about 22 years, and I have worked in various capacity as a developers, team leader, managers, and now I'm a senior manager. So the big milestone, if you're just starting out or recently started, a big milestone for your journey is number one, learn with the basics. There are hundreds and hundreds of things in web development nowadays. There are front-end, back-end, databases, DevOps. You can't learn all in the beginning, but you don't have to. When you work in a when you will join a company, when you will have a job, you will get your first job, you will realize that there are many pieces, many people that comes together to help you build a project. So you don't have to do everything yourself, especially in the beginning. If you can stick to one technology, one course, one set of activity, you will be good. And as you get into the job, based on whatever technology that project is using, you will have to learn, and you will learn all that. So if you're just starting out, just start with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. JavaScript is base of many other technology that you will learn later on. So spending a lot of time in building your strong foundation in JavaScript will be incredible and will support you all the time. Just like when you build a house, you focus on your foundation, and JavaScript will become that foundation for you. Also, if you learn one language, then learning the second language is not that something that you have to start from scratch. There are so much commonalities between the language, and also the logic that you learn, the thinking process that you gain, apply regardless of what technology and what language you are using. So that's a good point, important point. And obviously HTML and CSS is the foundation. CSS is make your page prettier. And if you don't know CSS, you can spend endless hours. And remember, when you spend so much time in backend, when you spend so much time in functionalities, if your page doesn't look good, it does impact your capabilities and your perception. So anyway, start from these foundational things. And then the next thing is pick a project. We'll talk more about that how you can pick a project. I wrote an article yesterday that talk about in detail how to pick a project, how to execute a project, because it takes many steps. But when you work on a project and you thoroughly go through that project, you will realize that you will have a lot to talk about in your interview. I will share one of my story that when I was in my early journey, before my first tech job, I did this 6-month course. There are 120 people in that course. And when we was doing the campus interview, I was worried because I did not know who will select me. There are other excellent people there. But what happened in this interview, where the hiring manager was asking me about my project, and I just we just get deeper and deeper into why we built this project, why we chose the technology that we chose. We chose ASP. It was a new technology. I was able to answer the question, why not Java? When everybody was after Java, why did we choose ASP as our technology? The purpose of the application, why this project, why not hundreds of other projects, and the journey or the flow within that application, that how user log in, then what next, and then what next, why did we choose that flow, and then also some of the decisions that we made along the line. So it was a fascinating conversation. I heard myself, I heard the energy, I heard the involvement, and this hiring manager did too. And guess what? I had 3 jobs to choose from after those round of interviews. And I think it took about a month of different interviews, and I had 3 jobs to choose from, all because of that project that I have done. And I was able to illustrate, I will be able to demonstrate that my involvement in that project. So learn, do a project, apply some of the technology there. I suggest React. It's one of the most popular technology right now. So React and React-based additional item like Nest.js, which I believe another popular tech that going on. And again, if you have done JavaScript, you will be familiar with what's happening within that. So do a project, pick a project, and technology, and the next thing to do is to apply. So once you're done with this project, you have your foundation, you have picked some of the technology, and you know about them too, you know about the domain, you know about the process, and now it's time for applying. So you build your resume, your portfolio site, your LinkedIn and Twitter profile, and apply 5 jobs daily. That's what I recommend. And and then get hired. Again, passionately talk about your skills, your journey, and your project, and you get hired. So that's a very high level. This is kind of the journey that look like different milestone that look like from start to finish. For some people, it could be 6 months. For some people, it could take a year to go from milestone number 1 to milestone number 4, but it's worth every effort that you take, and there are many avenues that can open up, not just a job once you go through this process, right? So as I said, from the learning perspective, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React is one of the most popular technology. And in the back end, you have Nest.js, Node, and MongoDB. Again, I suggest that you start with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then when you do the project, use React and some of the backend technology. That would be my recommendation. Obviously, you can do any combination of what many available technology. But don't spend too much time selecting and then keep switching between those technology. Just go with one, and then you can always create the version 2 or version 3. So when it comes to a project, I suggest that you pick a project that you can relate to. We just started a testimonial project. I came up with an idea of testimonial project because that's what has been in my mind for last 6 months, that I started building the product. my quarterly planning workbook, newsletter, and an email course. And I was trying to find a website that can help me collect the testimonial. And I like the site testimonial.to, but it's like $50 a month subscription, which I didn't want to afford right now. So I checked many other websites. So it is something that I've been thinking about. It is something that I researched and gain a lot of expertise around what this domain is, what these websites do, why they exist. Another one is I really like this application called Goodread. That's from Amazon, and I use that website for like last 6-7 years. Anytime I complete a book, I mark it there. I want somebody to build a better version of that application. I know it's not just the technology, but a lot of moving pieces behind it, like how they sync their backend with Amazon, and then also how they the number of people they already have on that platform. So it's a lot of things, not just the technology, but I wish somebody do that project, and maybe that is one of the projects that I will start with, like dissect that project. So pick an application that you're passionate about. And then second idea would be is to picking a classic application like library management application. It's everlasting application. You can find so much detail about it, that how the requirements, markup, all that, you will have a good starting point if you start with one of those classical application and make it better, make it modern. Similarly, an inventory management system is another everlasting application that you can start working. And with a classical application, what you're trying to do is to picking something that you have the full domain knowledge, you can find all the details and everything, and then you're focusing on applying the technology to it. And when you creating pages and you going through all that experience, you solving all the problems that you encounter. So that's another great way to pick a project. Last one is there are so many open source projects, and many of them have this initial release. I believe Arya or Sophia, one of the person have told me about it. So if you go to these projects, select one that you can relate to, that interests you, and then in that project you can find the first release, and then you can build that. The reason why I'm suggesting that, because if that project is running for a year or 2 years, they have matured themselves. They probably in their third or fourth version, and as you go with the second or third iteration, obviously they become more and more complicated. But you don't want to go with that complication in the beginning. Your focus is to build your foundation. So start with simple, and then start adding complexity. Any application, any professional application will have a lot of authentication pieces. And then they have different type of logs, different type of analytic captures and things like that. But you don't need all that in your first round. But you do need some of the basic functionality, like adding unit testing, adding your comments, using some kind of tech to some kind of source control repository, and also some kind of some kind of technology for you to be able to do the documentation and unit testing and all. So first was learning, second was project, and let's go to apply section. So when you apply for a job, you can use all the online application or job application websites such as LinkedIn, Naukri.com. I know that's popular in India. I'm sure there are similar websites in Africa that is regional and popular. LinkedIn is, I believe, is globally appreciated by recruiter as well as people who are applying. So use all the online resources that you can wherever you can find job and wherever you can apply them. Also, some people will argue whether you need resume or not, but it's your something tangible that you can hand over to your hiring manager with your job application, right? So do that, and then build a profile over LinkedIn and Twitter. Those are the two primary ones. But if you're using another job site or any other profile that is popular in your region, then build a profile there. And then building a portfolio web page is not so difficult anymore. What you want to show there is a copy of your resume, right? How you the most of the content will go from your resume to this page, but you will also have your project description, and whatever information you can add that highlight your involvement, and your contribution to that project, and also your thinking process and your passion around it. So build all that. And then I always suggest apply 5 jobs daily. You can do that. You can definitely do that. What is in your hand is to apply. What is not in your hand is to somebody to select you, or somebody to ask you for an interview, or somebody to hire you. Those are not the thing that is your hand, but what is in your hand is to apply, and apply regularly. Hey, Toby. I will take a pause. Toby is joining. Hi, Toby. Can you hear me, Toby? Okay, I will keep going. Okay, great. Great. So I started. I'm also recording. I will go back real quick. That's a free session. This is who I am. I have a lot of experience as a web developer, then team leader, then manager, and then senior manager. And now I'm trying to share everything that I know with other developer who are trying to build a career. This is a high-level idea of different milestone that you go through when you're getting into this web development field. Start with learning the foundation, building a project, applying for a job, and getting hired. When we talk about learning, I always say that you build your foundation with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then add advanced technology. Advanced technology being React, or some of the other libraries and framework, and backend such as Node.js, Nest.js, and MongoDB and things like that. So while you learn, build a foundation using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. If you learn JavaScript, you can apply that to other areas such as React, Nest, and all that kind of thing. Then we talk about projects. So I suggested picking an application that you can relate yourself to, something that you frequently use. I pick recently, I started an open source project with a couple of people, and I chose a testimonial website as that project because I've been thinking about it a lot. So I thought that would be a good project. So, but you can also choose some of the classical applications such as library management and inventory management. Um, you can find a lot of information around it, and you can just build it very modern. And then the third one was um, starting an open source project. Not starting an open, finding an open source project. There are hundreds and hundreds of them. And they also have their initial release listed. So what happened that if the project has been running for a year or two, they have matured the technology, they have matured some of the pieces, but you can find their initial release and start from there. You don't want to start with very complicated project, Toby. You can start with the basic, and that's where you want to focus on. And then I started talking about applying for jobs. So building a presence on LinkedIn, Twitter, is kind of the global places, but then you may have your local job searching website. I know Naukri.com is one of the famous one in India. I'm sure similar exist in Africa and other continent, other countries. So what you want to do is to build your resume, your LinkedIn and Twitter profile, and then apply 5 job daily. I think you can easily find the 5 relevant job and apply them. What is in your hand is to apply. What is not in your hand for somebody to ask you for interview, shortlist you, or give you a job. Those are not the thing that you can control, but what you can control is to build your presence and apply for the job. So that's where I'm taking this discussion to. And then a portfolio page. Nowadays, it's not hard to make a portfolio. There are free services available. What you want to do is to bring a lot of content from your resume, and then also the project that you have done, combine that and build, show who you are and what you have done. You don't want to just talk about the technology. You also want to talk about why your experience through that project, because that's what helped you get hired. And when you have these interviews, show your passion. I always say that it's not about just the technology, it's about the process that you have gone through. And I will show you another slide. So I will stop sharing and then share another file that shows how the process behind it. Okay, so I guess in this case, I will just share the entire screen. Toby, I'm so glad that you joined. Thank you. Okay, so when you start with a project, there are many steps that you take. The first one is to break down all different items. So for example, you come up with an idea, and then these are the typical high-level steps, right? You're making a list of features, you're designing the application flow, setting up a GitHub and different repository. You're selecting the technologies, right? I suggest keeping it simple to begin with, and then you can always come back and do a second iteration. Then obviously, then you code and then you deploy. So as I was showing here, I will bring it side by side. When you break things, you do 2 things, right? Number one, you start with the bigger idea. As I was saying that one of the projects that we are doing is a testimonial website. So when you start breaking that, then you have authentication. Hey, welcome. Connecting. Welcome, Carrie. I believe anyone can start talking. You are welcome to unmute yourself and talk or send a message. So I won't go back to the entire presentation, but what we are talking is these 3 steps. Learn, start with the foundation, do a project, apply, and get hired. So we covered these pieces, and where we are is the process, the steps to building a project, where you start with an idea, and then there are a bunch of things that you have to do. It's not just the coding. Coding is a very small piece of this big biggest spectrum, and that's what you want to show in your interview. That's it's not just that you did the coding, you know JavaScript and React. You want to show that you know the end-to-end picture. So first step there is to build your big idea into project, and that's where I was going with this one. That we're doing an open source project with a team of 10, and in that, testimonial website is the project, and then at a very high level, these are the second level breakdown, that there is a authentication, and then there is a testimonial management. And under authentication, there are further division, further breaks of that section, like create account, user profile, application security itself. Like once I'm logged in, my token is passed between the pages, just to make sure that I'm still logged in and my session is not expired and things like that. And then manage testimonial and all. So you see how we are breaking that one line into different tangible items. And in this case, the label 1 is your primary line. The label 2 and label 3 is still saying what we need to do. And then label 4 is typically when you start talking about the pieces or the features, or how you will be making that happen. And then we go even deeper, that how these different pieces connect to each other. So in that case, you sign in. If you don't have an account, you create an account. Then you for that you register, you do some kind of email verification, and then you could land on the home page. And then once you're on the home page, you will see product page, search page, testimonial page, my account, and all that kind of thing, right? So these are simple boxes that you're showing on how they are relating to each other, how the user is flowing from the login screen to different screen. Again, this is for you to gain clarity around the big pieces about this project, right? So first you broke that into smaller pieces, and then with each of them, you're trying to see how they connect with each other, right? And obviously, this will be helpful for you to job interviews and in any other project, but primarily, these are helpful for you to be clear about how you will be coding different pieces, right? And then from there, you get into the next step of defining each of these boxes. So let's say sign in, right? How that sign in page look like. Again, you will notice that I'm not talking about fancy technology to build all this. You can do this in pen and paper. All the activity that I show you can do those in pen and paper, right? You don't need fancy application. So in this case, you will have some kind of username, password, and forget password, and then sign up will have similar things. So you can do all that on a piece of paper. And then let's continue with that. If you have more skills, you can also do the markups and all. Then comes to the technology, as I suggested, they start with foundation. And then you can add more sophisticated technology like React and Nest.js and things like that. You will have to select one database, and then tools such as GitHub and Visual Studio Code. Again, those are the one that I recommend. Okay. So Toby had to pick up his son. Thank you so much, Toby, for joining. Means a lot to us. I will share this recording, so you will be able to watch it later on. And then, all right. So let's keep going. Okay. So then you set up your repository, and then when there is a time to code, I suggest the pseudocode. So you have a structure of where this code begin and where this code end for each file, each library, and all that kind of thing. So you go through, you build your repository, you build your local development environment. When you're coding, you are now creating that structure, pseudocode. We also have done flowchart of these applications. It's amazing that how many different things that you can do to get the clarity about how this code will work. It's very fascinating. And that's what you want to show in interview. It's not just that you have done a fancy React application, but the entire thought process. Last one is you can find a Netlify is one of the applications where you can actually deploy this for free. And then you can add all these information to your portfolio page and your resume and all. So I will go back. I will go back to where we parted. So build your presence, apply daily, talk about it very passionately. And with that, thank you so much for attending, Toby and Kerry. And good luck with your job hunting, your learning, and you building a project. I'm always here. What we covered today is the basic steps and the building blocks for you to get ready, apply, and get hired. For some people, it can take 6 months. For some people, it can take a year or two, but it will worth every effort because you're building a career that will last for 20, 30, 40 years, right? It's a long journey. And this is the first stepping stone. If you like today's session, please submit your testimony. If you did not like this session, you still submit a testimonial and review so that I can do it better next time. What I want you to do from here is to apply these building blocks, apply these learning in your daily habits, in your daily journey toward your career. And you can always reach out to me at my Twitter account, Vinod Sharma 10x. And with that, I will stop here. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.